uh, May 5th, 2025 meeting of the Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency at 7:12 p.m. And we'll start with a roll call,
Marla Butts.
Mark Parker.
and Bill Rowinski, and Stuart Peasley is not on right now. And like I said, I just texted him to see, but we'll move forward with what we got. We don't have any alternates to appoint, and actions on the minutes of the previous meeting, regular meeting of April 7th, 2025.
I need a moment because I'm just finishing up doing the review. So if somebody else has comments, they can.
Just spelling, I believe Waddles is with 2 T's instead of 2 D's.
I think you're correct.
Well, only ducks waddle. Well, big geese do too. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the regular meeting minutes of April 7th.
Yeah, the Waddles was my only question. That's just a spelling. I think it's at 2 places there.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 7th, 2025 Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency. With the change of changing wattles to waddle, no, waddles to wattles, from a D to a T.
Second.
Okay, motion by Marla Butts to approve the minutes with the change from Waddles, seconded by Mark Parker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The vote is unanimous. Moving on to the special meeting minutes of April 29th, 2025.
I do have a change on that. Would be on starting on page 2. Item, excuse me, VII. It currently reads, current permit ends and new draft of permit will be available. And I think what it should read is current MS4 general permit ends and new draft of MS4 general permit will be available. So I would add the words MS, that's capital M, capital S, for general in front, between the words current and permit in the beginning, and between the words of and permit a little later on in the sentence. And then the second item that I had for change is IX training. It says clear is current training to go. And I would like to add, however, the DEP online wetlands training for certification is currently unavailable. I see Stuart's here.
Sorry for my tardiness.
Okay, I'll Stuart join the meeting at 7:16 p.m.
Would it be helpful to spell out clear the Center for Land Use Education and Research, and then in parentheses put clear? Because not everybody may not know right from the top what clear stands for.
Maybe if you put Yukon in front of clear.
Okay, yeah, Yukon clear.
Yeah, put on Yukon in front of the word clear. Capital U, capital C, lowercase ONN.
Yeah. Is the current training to go to? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of training in there. But however, the DEEP online wetlands training for certification is currently unavailable. That should be added in.
Right.
And
anything?
then, should I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Got more. Page 3, item XI, excuse me. It currently reads draft with language for climate resiliency. And I think it should say drafts with language for water resources climate resiliency. Because we went through the draft that I had done,
Mhm.
and there were some edits changed, which I had subsequently forwarded to everyone on the commission with edits that were made at that night. So I think that should read drafts with language for water resources climate resiliency and
Right.
several wetlands topics. And I'm going to suggest striking have been distributed to Delia Fay for consideration and inclusion, and replace it with were reviewed and edits suggested. And then a new sentence, Marla to provide Delia Fay with update after next Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency meeting. Do you want me to repeat that?
I'm okay with it. I won't be able to repeat it myself, but hopefully Amy's got it.
No, I'm all set. Thanks, Marla.
Yep, welcome. And that's it. Those are the changes that I suggested. So that's changes to 3 different paragraphs.
Does anybody else have any other changes?
Back up on page 1, Roman numeral 3, map questions, number 4. Again, I think we should say UConn, so capital U, capital C, little ONN, clear land cover data.
There should be uppercase.
Yes, it is.
And then item number 1, number 3, letter A, memo from Delia. I, engineering consulting. So do we want it consulting or consultants? I don't know, I'm just wondering. I guess consulting is okay.
Yeah, it's acceptable, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't see anything else that needed changes.
Anybody else?
So I'll move.
I just noticed, I just noticed, okay, so on page 2, letter 8, Yukon is all in capital case. Do we want to make that capital U, capital C, and then little o?
Yeah, be consistent.
Yeah. So you see there, Amy, on page 2, number 8, Yukon should be capital U, capital C, and then little o, little n, little n. And again on the next item, on the next line.
It's lowercase, Mark.
Lowercase, that's what I meant. Yeah. What did I say? Little letters?
Little letter.
Lowercase. Okay.
So I'll move to approve the special meeting minutes of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency of April 29th, 2025, with the changes discussed in paragraph 3A III 4, comma 3A II 8, 3A VII, and 3A VIX, and 3A XI. That's it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Marla Butt, second by Stuart Peasley to accept or accept the minutes of the special meeting on April 29th, 2025 with the corrections and alterations as described by Marla and others. It's ready for the further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Vote is unanimous. Motion passes. Moving on to number 5, citizens' comments. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on any wetlands-related item that's not currently on the agenda for tonight? This should be something that would be relatively short. Okay, I would just interject here is that we have Kathleen, is it Barrick, with us tonight. Her name has been submitted to the selectmen for joining the Wetlands Agency, and I believe in a couple of weeks, the appointment may be made.
Thank you. Thanks. I apologize for being late.
That's okay.
Well, I had a computer crash and it's just making me crazy, but I would just like to watch what's going on. I've seen a couple of the recordings of your meetings to kind of get a feel for what's happening. And then I have some questions about what sort of orientation or what sort of rules you have or all that stuff, but we don't need to do that right now. I think you
Yeah.
guys are rolling, so thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So we'll move along to pending applications. Application 01-25-03, 25 Loyola Road, John Weber, tear down and rebuild of a single-family home.
So
And we have, oh, go ahead, Dan.
we have some updated documents. First, a site plan revision from 429 that's in the attached section. And we also finally received correspondence from NDDH that we were awaiting, the reason we tabled last time. But I'll put those things up, and if I know we've got Frank Halley here and Mark Reynolds and Mr. Weber, if anybody wants to lead the way.
I have a question. What were the changes? You gave us a revised map. What were the changes that are from the prior map submitted with the application in this one?
I can explain one of them. We noted previously that the proposed deck would encroach into the zoning rear yard setback. So that point where it would encroach has been scaled back. But I'll leave the applicant to explain anything else, but that's one note that I've caught.
I would like to hear it from the applicant, what the changes are between the two drawings.
Sure, I can do that. It's Mark Reynolds. I worked in the preparation of the site plan. Dan, I don't know if it's helpful, but I have a colored map I could share.
Sure.
Would that be helpful? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yep. Yeah, do you have the green share button at the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, it popped right up. So I'll bring that up and it says I'm screen sharing. Can anyone see my screen?
Not yet.
There we go.
You got it now?
Yes.
All right, so this is just a blue screen with 25 Loyola Road.
Yes.
I'm gonna skip the intro stuff from last time and I'll dial down to the plan. This is the proposed plan now. The changes, as Dan mentioned, well, I guess there's threefold changes to the plan. The first is that we worked with the health department to ensure that the purple area would be a code complying septic area. And as Dan mentioned, Maureen concurs with that at this point from NDDH. So you have a letter in your file. And we did scale back the deck slash patio in this corner up here so that it would comply with the setback. So you have a 10-foot section now, and then the rest is a 16-foot section. The peach area is the deck slash patio. The orange is the house proper. The dark orange is the existing house that would be removed. In addition to those things, we have addressed stormwater from the proposed house and patio deck areas by specifying some stormwater infiltration units to be placed as close to the building as practical, and is shown here in this darker blue color. These infiltration units are designed to be dry most of the time and to collect stormwater runoff up to an inch off of the roofs. And the remainder, at that point, an overflow would be at grade, as you'd see customarily. So that's in addition to the plan that we've done to try to help address stormwater runoff to the lake. And here's a cross section of that detail, just so you can see what we're looking to do. We've done this successfully in a number of lake scenarios similar to this. And so you have an infiltration unit surrounded with stone, very similar to a leach field on a traditional septic system. And you have the roof gutters, like in this lower detail, graded to there for infiltration collection, and then an overflow at grade for larger storm events. So those are the changes to the plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has about those.
You have a question on the infiltration system.
Yeah.
So, gutters collect leaves, they collect stone from the asphalt shingles. Are they proposing a metal roof on this, or are they having asphalt shingles?
Frank, I think could answer best. Frank, what kind of roof are we going with?
Mark, I can confirm it's asphalt.
John, all right, go ahead. John.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is I
Yeah, it
noticed
would
that
be
my
an asphalt shingle roof.
okay, because I noticed that my asphalt shingles, I have to start as they start to deteriorate, they put out little stones, and you have no way of protecting your infiltrator system from stones or leaves that collect in the gutters. How do you plan to protect, because that's an expensive system. That's not like a dry well. It's kind of like a dry well, but it's not a well. It's an infiltrator system. How do you plan to protect that from getting clogged with leaves and the stone that might come from the shingles and stuff?
Yeah, as far as leaves go, the gutters would have to be protected at the roof.
Okay.
There's a number of different proprietary systems. We would recommend probably any of them. That's to keep, larger things out.
Okay.
In terms of the asphalt particles, there's not really a practical way to stop that from happening. I'd suggest that the amount in terms of volume, over time,
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
No, no.
This type of system is not maintenance free. It requires that the homeowner, pays attention to their gutters and their roof and the infiltration system itself. But it's really the best option that we have in close quarters to get the water back into the ground where it would have been going in the first place, and to do that with sufficient storage volume to accommodate most storms.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the runoff coming off of the roofs would be clean anyways.
Correct.
So that's why I was wondering about whether or not just a dry well, at the leak offs would be a much more cost effective. But this is up to the homeowner. If they wants to go with the leach fields, I have no objection to that.
Yeah, the main thing, Marla, is that the soils in this area are pretty tight.
Okay.
And the ability to
Okay.
calculate infiltration off of a dry well is not very strong. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
That's the only thing that would have prevented that. Yep. Okay. You've answered my questions.
Bill Rowinski, I have a question. Did you change the basic septic system construction, or is it just that you changed the way it was drawn? Because I see a hatch on the original one and I don't see a hatch on the latest drawing.
So yeah, I can dial down to the original. The original looked like this.
Yeah.
And then the proposed looks like this. So, we really haven't changed the system very much. As it's viewed planimetrically, it's essentially the same. What we have done
Okay.
is gone with a proprietary system that will allow us to keep the fill envelope as low as possible and to make the grading work. So this will be a geomatrix product that we will be putting in here. And we've more or less just dialed in the design to the point that this is a constructible plan now. It's construction ready drawing as opposed to previously where we had kind of sized up the septic system and hadn't really gone to that level of detail. So this
Okay.
plan at this point is suitable to make application for a building permit.
Okay. And I have another question. I see where your septic tank is and it says pump. Is that going to be part of a driveway?
Yes, the septic tank and the pump will both be directly under a driveway that goes from the existing gravel driveway up here straight to the building, which is there's a garage space here. So those two features would be designed and installed with H20 loading under the driveway, so they'd be suitable for traffic to be over the top.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that classification of loading.
It's
I mean,
it's
if
a
they,
design standard for reinforced concrete so that the tank covers can withstand vehicular loadings.
I mean, how much vehicular? I mean, if they had drove an oil truck over it, would it still be all right?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
So that, I have another question based upon what your questions were, Bill.
yeah.
So is this septic system similar to a mantis system?
No, it's not actually. This system is more in line with, I don't know if you're familiar with the geometric systems. There are a proprietary system that involves a metal form that is placed in the ground and with successive rows of stone and sand in close proximity. And
Okay.
so what that does is just creates a very large surface area for a biomat to develop on the leaching trench. This particular one is called an S-box. It's the lowest profile system that the Geomatrix has. And the main purpose for that is to keep the system away from seasonal high groundwater and at the same time keep the profile down so that the grading out towards the street and the building we're very tight for space. So we're trying to keep the vertical aspect of the leaching system to a minimum.
Got it. So the reason why I'm asking these questions, because I know in the mantis system, they recommend not having garbage disposals on them. And this would not be the same as long as he keeps his septic tank clean, does the routine cleaning. Because if he doesn't do that and he clogs his system with solids, he's going to end up having to replace it as opposed, so I think knowing that he has to maintain good septic tank conditions. And I would typically, on a system that's expensive like this, as opposed to regular leaching field, I would recommend if you can go to a larger tank size, the better it is, 1,500 instead of 1,000, but that's up to the homeowner. As long as the health department's approved it, it's not our business.
Yeah. Yeah, and we don't recommend garbage disposals on any of our systems on-site septic. And I know the health code does allow it under certain conditions, but we don't recommend it and certainly don't recommend it in this situation.
Yeah.
That's actually noted on the plan on the second sheet. Are there any other questions?
I don't have any.
I'm
So
okay.
this is available for a wetlands agent approval? Or it can have an individual permit?
Well, there are
Dan,
no
what-
direct wetland impacts. I don't know if that makes a
Correct.
difference. Mm.
It's just that wetlands agent approvals are appealable within 2 weeks of their issuance after the legal notice is published, but individual permits are not. They are actually, they're final unless they're appealed to court. There's no other further appeal. We've never had a wetlands agent approval appealed though. So it doesn't, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another in most cases, unless you have a neighbor that doesn't like what you're doing. It can make a difference. Dan,
Stuart,
what
you
was
have a
your,
question?
I was wondering what Dan was thinking of, issuing a wetlands agent approval or an individual permit.
Well, I brought this one to the commission because of its complexity. And we have brought them kind of through a little longer process than most agent approvals could take. I feel it can go either way. We've done had a pretty good look at this with you, and
Then I think I'd like to go issue it as a permit. I'd like to make a motion to approve application 01-25-0325 Loyola Road by John Weber for the tear down and rebuild of a single family home to be issued as an individual permit.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Marla Butts, seconded by Mark Parker to approve application 01-25-03, 25 Loyola Road, John Weber for tear down and rebuild of a single family home. Stuart, you were gonna make a comment at one point. Do you have anything else you would like to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. It's unanimous.
Thank
So
you very
thank you very
much.
much, Yep, thank you very much, everybody, and we're glad we finally got through this.
Thank you. Good night.
Welcome, good night. Moving on to application 03-25-12, 22 Bighorn Lane, Chris and Heather Erskine, stone steps to water, 8x10 shed, retaining wall.
okay. Heather sent us in an additional drawing, kind of marking up a site plan where the steps were proposed. That was a question when we were discussing this at our last meeting. But I believe we have Heather on the call. If we have any further questions, we tabled this because the steps proposed to reach the water, which would require a permit.
Or alternatively, it could be maintenance and enjoyment of residential home. Since she's not really proposing anything but to replace the steps, she's not talking about doing anything to the retaining wall, just the steps. So,
And
I don't know, what's the commission's opinion on that? We could issue it as a permit. Do you feel you have enough detail though on the stone steps? That's the only thing. And if they're so small, there was a picture in the original application showing the stone steps. It was on page 10 of the application drawing. There it is. Those are the stone steps. I mean, we're talking something pretty de minimis.
I don't have
I'd
any
be-
concerns if Stuart doesn't. And we could-
So it's just gonna be tuning that up, what's already there?
Heather?
we're gonna remove the rubble and 3 stairs will be on the land and it'll actually only be 1 stone stair in the water.
See, so it's not like it's not like a retaining wall that could fail into the lake.
Yeah.
It's not likely going to be subject to movement by frenetic forces of water through the soil. I don't see
I-
why we couldn't authorize it.
Authorize it as a use as a right for enjoyment.
Yeah,
The-
use permitted as of right, but since it came in as an application already, we could issue it as a permit. Dan, was the fee paid for a permit?
Yes.
All right, then I think we should just issue it as an individual permit. I don't have any problems with the information that she's provided.
I have no questions. It's fine.
Do you want me to make a
Somebody-
motion?
It'd be
Please.
nice for somebody to make a motion.
All right, I move to approve application 03-25-12, 22 Bighorn Lane by Chris and Heather Erskine to construct a 8x10 shed with retaining wall in the upland review area and to replace several stone steps that go to the water.
Boom. Yep.
I'll
Second.
second.
Oh,
Oops,
here we go.
toss up.
Okay, we have a motion by
third it.
Marla Butts, seconded by Mark Parker. Believe that was correct. To approve application 03-25-12, 22 Bighorn Lane for Chris and Heather Erskine, the 8x10 shed and retaining wall and stone steps to the water. Is
As a
there any
permit.
further discussion? As a
As-
permit.
As a permit.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion? Does anybody desire to have this during low water period only?
The work is so de minimis, I don't think it's gonna make a difference.
Nope.
Okay.
Diminutive.
Yeah,
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to new applications.
Austin
Lost my screen.
called me at the end of the day today and said he might not be able to make the Zoom, but he was going to try and call. I don't see him, I believe, in our meeting room here.
Well, I have some questions for him, so I think I would like to table this application to next month. If nobody objects to it, since the representative's not here.
Fine.
Unless he comes in later.
If he comes in
Mhm.
later, we can put it back on the table.
So I move to table application 04-25-115, 1490 Route 169, Austin Harmon Whole Forest Products, Inc. for Bruce Sherman as a timber harvest until next month's meeting.
Unless he comes in during this meeting.
Unless he comes in during this meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to table application 04-25-15, 1490 Route 169, Austin Harmer for Hull Forest Products, Inc. for Bruce Sherman for timber harvest to the next meeting, unless Mr. Harmon joins us later in this meeting. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion is unanimous.
Marla, do you know what the aerial map is that they're using? Oh,
I have no idea how they got their wetlands delineation, so that's my question.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to application 04-25-16, 747 Route 198, Heather and Philip Baldwin. Use permitted as of right, request for septic replacement.
So we've got Norm Tebow on the call with us. Norm prepared this application. If you'd like to speak, Norm.
Hang on. All right.
Yeah, essentially, what we're doing is, we are, looking to do a, septic system repair. Uh, as you can see, uh, um, by the plan, there is we are within the upland review area. And we're also, within there's a pond on site. Well, it's not on site, it's actually on another property also owned by the Baldwins. Um, this is really the only, place on the property they can do this repair. Um, it is oversized. The existing system was just installed, about 6 years ago. And it is failing, currently. And, they've, contacted, the original system, was an Elgin Mantis system. The Baldwins contacted Elgin Mantis. They came, they took some samples of the sand and the aggregate that was utilized, and they came to the conclusion that, the C33 sand, which is a washed sand that is typically used for this type of installation, did not meet their specification, which is the reason why, the system, is no longer functioning properly. We are not going back to that type of system. They're going with a gallery system, concrete galleries, and they're oversizing it. One of the nice things about the concrete galleries is there is significant, storage, within, the gallery itself. So, any events where they might have, a cookout or a party where the bathrooms might be used a little more than typical. This type of system has the ability to, store the, any kind of effluent, in the galleries for an extended period of time, while it takes time to infiltrate. These are 24-inch galleries, and they're, each of them is, 24 inches high by 4 feet wide, by 8 feet long. So there's pretty significant storage in these galleries. And, we're putting in a total of 16 of them.
So Norm, this house was, Marla Butt speaking, this house was built in 2018,
Correct.
which isn't even 10 years.
Yep.
Do they understand, in your discussions with them, that they're still gonna have to do tank maintenance, septic tank maintenance to protect this system?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, they've had that, the existing septic tank, pumped. They have maintained it. But, as I said, there was, the installer has a cut sheet, that was
Mhm.
certified that said that the septic sand, met the specification. And then when, the Elgin company came and took some samples of that sand after, the system was no longer functioning, they said it did not meet their specification. So, you've got, two different, laboratories who did the analysis, and, they do not, agree upon the result.
Gotcha. So I think this one should be, approved as a use permitted as of right. That's how it came in, right, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, I move to approve application 04-25-16 for Route 747, for number 747, Route 198, Heather and Philip Baldwin, to replace the septic system as a use permitted as of right for maintenance and enjoyment of a residential home.
Second.
We have a motion made by Marla Butts, seconded by Mark Parker to approve application 04-25-16, 747 Route 198, Heather and Philip Baldwin, use permitted as of right, request for septic replacement as a
Maintenance and
Maintenance
enjoyment of
enjoyment.
residential home.
maintenance enjoyments of residential home. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. Uh, The motion is unanimous. The motion passes. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to application 04-25-17, Route 171, Tyler and Ruth Cole Beausoleil, agent review for a new single-family home.
So this came before the commission a few years back. I believe the last name on it was Lato. And it was a modification of a previously approved permit that DEP required the shifting of the driveway for sightline purposes. I believe there was a lot line adjustment with it.
You meant DOT?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
DOT. And my read of what the action that the commission took was just that they approved the subdivision or the boundary line adjustment. And since this was a new owner, I feel like we needed a permit or a agent approval on this one. Or it could have been handled as a transfer. But I believe it was past its shelf life. It wasn't one of the ones that was extended by statute with the COVID. But this is an agent approval type of application. There's a driveway, culvert, and I believe portions of the septic gallery that are within the upland review area. And I just wanted to bring this to the commission to see if they had any thoughts on it. Pete Parent prepared this application, and he had previously prepared under the previous owner.
So
Dan, were you
Dan,
able to, oh, go ahead, sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. Is that drawing the driveway now where the drawing says it is, or does it have to be moved? There's an existing driveway there.
Yeah, the driveway had to be moved towards the center of the property. I think originally when it was proposed in its first form, the driveway was up over here, out of the
Yep.
upland. And then
But where-
after DOT comment, they had to come back with a revised plan that then brought it into upland review area.
Okay, but the driveway that's installed now, is that what's on this drawing or no?
That's what's on this drawing.
Okay,
Yeah, it's kind of a long, windy.
yeah, there's a
Is-
trailer there now.
Yeah, because when you're coming from the west, from Woodstock Valley toward County Road, it rises up, and when you come up over that crest, if the original proposed driveway had been closer up there, it would have been very dangerous. So by moving it further down the hill, it gives people flying up over the hill a little time to see the people coming in or going out of the driveway.
I don't see a problem with this application. I see there's a 15-inch CPP, but there really isn't much contributing drainage area. It looks like it's just an equalizer pipe to carry whatever drainage might be coming down Route 171 towards that wetland system and letting it cross through. So I don't think there's a need to have hydraulics for it. I do have a question though. I guess this shows a catch basin partway up the driveway with a flared end discharging. What is that for? Is that for picking up the runoff from the driveway area? So that's more like a yard drain, right? Do we have representative here?
Fortunately, we do not.
Okay,
That is my read, a yard drain.
yep,
Uh,
yep.
and
But it,
the one closer to the road is also my read that it's an equalizer.
mhm. Yeah, that's what I take it from. Let's see. Where? I'm taking a quick look on the map geo just to see what the contributing drainage area is, just to make sure we don't have an issue. I
Because
can find.
the proposed contour seems to direct it towards that, on the sides of the
Here it is.
driveway there.
I got it. Okay, let me take a quick look. Okay, contour. Don't hang up on me. Really? There we go. There's the property. All right.
Oh,
Hmm. Well, $470. What are you? $450. Coming down. So there's quite a bit of a hillside to the south that drains in this direction. So that's probably why it needs the yard drain.
It looks like they swale the contour on the western side of the driveway directed towards that. So I think it captures the hill water and anything to the west of the driveway.
Hmm. I think you're correct. That's probably a smart move to have that yard drain. I'm going to move that application 04-25-17 Route 171 map 7274 block 45 lot 6C by Tyler and Ruth Cole Beausoleil be approved as a wetlands agent approval for a new single family home.
Second, Stuart Peasley.
Yeah, we have a motion by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve application 04-25-17 at 0 Route 171, map 7274, block 45, lot 6C for Tyler and Ruth Cole Beausoleil as a wetlands agent review for a new single-family home. Is there any further discussion? Or should I say wetlands agent approval?
Mhm.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Moving along now to application 04-25-18, 305 Crystal Pond Road. David Barlow for Crystal Pond Road Commission. UPR request for riprap near shore.
This is David. Good evening.
Good
If you
evening.
can scroll down to the plan view. Right there, yeah. You remember about a year ago, we installed this pavilion on the shore of Crystal Pond Park, shown in orange there. And in doing that, we created quite a bit of runoff, which was there before, towards the lake. And so therefore, we built a retaining wall, labeled timber retaining wall, to the left of the pavilion. And we, in our original permit request, we showed adding some soil to build up a berm along the edge of the bank of trees and brush to keep water away from running down the bank into the pond. If you can go to the picture at the end. So this retaining wall and the berm worked well all last fall and last summer. But we did notice in the winter, when the ground was completely frozen and the berm was frozen, you can see that we had a retaining silt fence and some wattles kind of backing up the berm. But when it was frozen in the winter, we had some rain for a couple days, and there was no percolation into the soil. So the water, all the water came down to this one spot and puddled behind the berm and froze, and we had a frozen lake, a frozen puddle behind the berm. And then when the weather warmed up, the ice melted and the top of the berm unfroze. And we had a breakthrough, which you can see kind of left of the center there, where some of the water escaped from behind the berm and headed towards the lake, but didn't get too far. So our proposal, which we're coming back to modify our original permit, is if you can go back to the plan view. There's a section of the berm, which is the lowest part of the berm and especially vulnerable to having breakthrough. We had a landscaper come and he's suggesting bringing in riprap, raising the berm with adding a little more topsoil, and then back reinforcing the back of it, the lakeside of it, with riprap, so that if it did break through, it's not going to create erosion, and that would be reinforced. So this is our request to modify our original permit by adding riprap in this area.
Dave, I took some photographs that I showed the commission last month of that area. I'm gonna put them on the screen real quick to see if they help the conversation. This is that berm area, and is that effectively the location where you're proposing the riprap?
Right. Yep.
And you're gonna build more soil up on the top and then seed it heavily, get some vegetation growing?
Yes. If you go down to the second photograph, Dan, that you just showed, you can see that lowest part right there. I think you can just see the top of the berm behind the silt fence. That's where the breakthrough came. So that's the area we want to build up, make it a little higher and reinforce it. Yes, regarding the vegetation, you may be aware that the Park Commission has been severely divided on what we should do to grow vegetation. And that's also part of my request to you for advice. We've had some people said we've already disturbed the soil too much. We should just plant it. We did we took 10 soil samples, sent them to Yukon, and basically not only the disturbed area, but the rest of the park lawn is very deficient in nutrients. It's below optimum on their chart. And we had a landscaper come in and he recommended, based on the poor soil quality, it's very sandy and hardly any topsoil at all, that he would add 2 inches of topsoil. We'd like to add more, but it's very expensive. add 2 inches of topsoil, seed it with a tall fescue rye mix, and then add starter fertilizer and cover it with straw. This was discussed by the commission, and we had some opposition because right now the tops of the soil is about 2 inches down from the top of the retaining wall. And if we were to add more soil, we would bring it up to the level or above the retaining wall. So he was proposing to remove a couple inches of the topsoil and bring it down to that lower level, which we wanted to build up, and then replace that with the added topsoil to bring it back up to the current height. We had a good portion of the commission felt that that was a reasonable idea to add additional topsoil and starter fertilizer to establish grass growth on this part of the lawn. The opposite position was presented, well, we've already disturbed the soil enough by scraping more and relocating it, we're disturbing the soil to a greater extent. We should not be adding any fertilizer near the lake. There's always a risk that this fertilizer would end up in the water, which the commission certainly doesn't want, and lake residents certainly do not want. But we have shown that ever since we did this construction, that the berm and the contouring of the land has been effective in collecting water that came off of the pavilion and the rest of the lawn and shunting it to the lower portion where we're just talking about. So we have not seen any water or any erosion of soil into the lake, even in some fairly good storms last fall. We contained the water, and the next morning the puddle had drained into the soil. The soil is very sandy and permeable. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. How do you handle your roof runoff from the pavilion?
If you go back to the original plan there. So when we asked for the original permit, we had asked for permission to put a bed of stones going out 3 feet from the concrete platform and 3 feet wide and the whole length of the drip edge or drip line to both sides. We had not done that because, again, there was an alternate opinion on the commission that rather than just preventing splash and erosion right at the edge of the slab there, we should sink that water into a dry well or capture it in some way. We got a proposal from a contractor that he had sized the size of the well, dry well, and the amount of rock and the piping to bring it to the dry well. It was going to be over $10,000. Well, this is something that the commission can't afford. And so we've found that just capturing the water behind the retaining wall and the berm, we've been satisfactorily catching the water and allowing it to permeate the soil and dissipate that way.
Have you put the stone in for the runoff from the roof?
Not yet. Once
Okay.
we get this permit for the riprap, we want to do the stone at the same time.
Yeah. So I can understand the concern about, fertilizer, but one of the things I would suggest that you add into your seed mix, if you have no objection to it, would be put in white clover with an inoculant because white clover is a nitrogen fixer. And so it provides some natural fertilization of the soil. And if your mowing is going to do mulching mowing, that will go back into the soil and help as an amendment to the soil to help the other grass to grow as it decays. I didn't hear you mention anything about putting in any white clover. But if you do use white clover, you have to have an inoculant with it. That inoculates the seed as it grows with the nitrogen fixing bacteria.
Is that a special way it's sold, or white clover seed would come with that
Well,
automatically?
Your landscaper should know. If they don't know about that, I mean, I'm sure that you can get clover seed down at Hart Seed Company in Weathersfield. They have a lot of different mixes down there, different specialized seeds in Old Weathersfield, but I don't know close here. I don't know where your landscaper was planning on getting the seed source from. You might try some of the local supply, like Tractor Supply, to see if they have clover seed.
Okay.
But it doesn't grow real tall, and it does go to seed easily. And doesn't well, when the drought comes, because it's sandy soil, it's going to tend to burn off a little bit. But you're going to have problem growing grass because if it's that droughty, if it's that free draining, you're going to have a grass seed that's capable of withstanding droughty conditions.
And clover is better in that respect?
Well, yeah, I want to jump in here because I also had a lot of experience in that when I was working in the DEP on Long Island Sound watershed issues. So yeah, a good mix of clover with the drought resistant grass types is a good mix. And I just want to assure your members, David, that when you're starting a new lawn, when you're starting grass, it needs some starter fertilizer, and it's okay to give it that. And that actually starter fertilizer for new grass has a slightly higher level of phosphorus than regular fertilizer. So it's okay to give it to that when you're getting that started because it's going to uptake it. That new grass is going to want to grow like crazy. So you got to give it a good start. Once you've given it that start, and then the clover will start fixing using the fixing bacteria and will start fixing the nitrogen so that as the lawn grows and matures, you won't have to fertilize it anymore. So that's my first point. You're not going to need to use much fertilizer, just maybe initially to get it really growing fast. And then secondly, that lawn area is located at the southwest end of the lake. The lake flow is basically right around the corner to the left there, right, David? The dam's
It's
right
the southeast.
So the water isn't going to go into the top end of the lake where it's going to then spend a lot of dwell time in the lake. It's if any fertilizer does get into the water at that end of the lake, it's going to be going out of the lake fairly quickly.
I just want to point out one thing. Our park is in the southeast, mainly
side.
the east
Okay.
side.
Right. Yeah.
And the dam is on the northwest. So we are about as far as you can get from the dam, if that's what you're talking about.
Geez, I was thinking it was okay. I thought you were right down next to the dam.
Well, there is a dam south of the facility. But it could be just connecting two water bodies.
There is what we call the lagoon. The Boy Scouts had built a gravel mound with a little bridge going over it. And so there is a separate little area that's very shallow, has a lot of water lilies and stuff like that, that they use for launching canoes and stuff. And then you go under a little bridge in the causeway, and then you're in the lake proper. But that there's no outflow from that. That water joins the lake itself. But I should say that the prevailing wind, basically comes from the dam area or the west side of the lake, kind of southeast, right towards the park. So if you have any ice or debris or leaves or whatever, or boats or barrels or whatever, it's often carried by the wind towards the park end. That's our situation.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I agree with Marla. It's okay. Get that clover, grass mix. A good drought resistant, grass mix. Um, and do the initial fertilization. But then once that grass starts growing, it should be uptaking whatever fertilizer you put in fairly quickly. And then in the years to come, the clover will help keep it going.
Have you been in touch with the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District to see if they can give you any advice on the seed mix?
This was last fall, I contacted the Yukon Extension Service
Yeah,
and gave them a description, and I wrote to them in general. And I also found, I forgot the woman's name, but she has written a lot of their guidance on grasses and lawns and stuff like that. I sent a separate letter to her asking if she could give us some advice. I got no response from either one.
okay, so the town contributes to the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District. And they're there to provide some help to the citizenry and the public. The town donates $1,000. So if you Google Eastern Connecticut Conservation District,
Mhm.
you should be able to get a contact name. I'm just trying to see. See if I give you a name. So, yeah, I did Eastern Connecticut Conservation District, and there's a contact name. You can tell them Dan Mullins is the executive director. Maura
Mullins?
Roby is a natural resource specialist. I believe Maura lives in town. And their email addresses are there.
Okay.
So I would send it probably to the executive director, Dan Mullins. You'll get an email address on there and tell them that you're looking for a seeding mixture and give them the description of the problems that you're having.
Okay. Thank you.
And they should be able to look up on the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control the various seed mixes, or they can contact their sources to find out what might be the best seed mix. Since this is part of the town's, I believe town owns this facility, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so they should provide some assistance. So I would try them. You also have a phone number, I believe, there. You can call them at 860-319-8806.
Okay.
That's their Norwich office. They have a Brooklyn office also, which is 860-774-9600, extension 13. You'll probably have somebody answering the Norwich office quicker than the Brooklyn office, because sometimes there's nobody at the Brooklyn office.
Okay. Thank you for that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Some people had recommended so-called conservation mix to us. We Googled several different grass mixes called conservation mix, but it seems to us it's designed for roadsides and ditches and poor soil conditions, which is kind of what we have, but it is designed to have deep roots and tall plants, like a foot, 2 feet high, mowed once a year. That's not what we need for a lawn. We need a lawn we can use for recreation. So I will pursue these other avenues. Thank you.
If you're looking for a seed mix, you can try Heart Seed Company in Weathersfield. You can look at them online. It's HARTS
Mm-hmm.
Seed Company. And it's HARTSEED.com.
In Weathersfield, you said, right?
And that's there in Weathersfield. So I don't know, the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District may be able to provide you with suppliers' names for the seed mixes, but they might not. I don't know, but that is one contact place that they do that kind of thing. They make specialty mixes. At least they used to.
So is the general advice of the agency here that we should, if we're opposed to adding topsoil, at least we could add starter fertilizer. We're not looking for a lush lawn. We're looking for erosion control, basically.
I would take whatever advice you get from the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District on
Okay.
what to do. That along with your landscaper.
Yeah, and I would say, again, whatever ECCC does say, I think it was a good idea, the commission members, to take off that bad topsoil that you've currently got, then put down, the 2 inches that you wanted to put in so that you were not getting above the berm like you were suggesting. I think that was a good idea. And then seed it and fertilize it and go forward. But again, ask ECC what they think.
Will do.
And you also be planting a pollinator lawn, because the bees love the white clover.
Yeah.
I have that on my lawn. My grandfather always told us to add clover in your grass seed, and yeah, at one point in this year, there's a field of white on our front lawn. It's very nice.
So we need to make a decision on this?
There's still the question of the riprap.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, let's
I don't
see
have
how it,
I don't have any problem with it.
I don't either. So I'll move to, where am I? Approve application. Wait a second. Let me just take a look at it. Hold on. How did it come in? Did it come in as a use?
Yes.
Okay. I move to approve application 04-25-18-305 Crystal Pond Road. David Barlow for the Crystal Pond Commission as a non-regulated use under conservation of soil.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve application 04-25-18305 Crystal Pond Road. David Barlow for Crystal Pond Commission. And that's, Marla, can
As
you
a-
provide the detail?
As a non-regulated use. So under conservation of soil and water.
Okay,
So for discussion, you calling it under non-regulated use conservation of soil and water, you have to be able to show that it doesn't alter the natural and indigenous character of the wetland or watercourse. And the placement of riprap in the upland review area to try to create a stable discharge or stabilization purposes does not alter the natural indigenous character of the lake. So for that reason, it should be a non-regulated use under conservation of soil and water.
okay, but my question is also, do we, as part of this process, we want to make an allowance for adding some loam if the landscaper and the conservation district recommends it?
That would qualify, yes, under the conservation of soil and water for stabilization purposes. But we don't know what they're going to do yet.
Yeah,
If they do something different than what they've shown in their application, they'll have to tell us what it is they want to do. So it's whatever's in the application.
okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to application 04-25-19, Route 171, Rocky Hill frontage. Rin and Donald Riddell, driveway to a new single-family home.
So we've got Norm with us. Norm prepared this application. Norm Tebow, Killingley Engineering Associates.
Thanks, Dan. For the record, Norm Tebow, Killingley Engineering Associates. What we have is there's a proposed single-family home. I guess this driveway slash cart path is already in place. This is an existing entrance from Rocky Hill Road that the applicants have been using to enter their property for a number of years. But they are going to be building a home here now. So in order to bring the driveway up to compliance with a favorable driveway width, we do have to do some grading at the entrance. This is the only place on the property where there are any wetlands, right at the beginning here where this existing driveway is. And so we are just proposing to improve that driveway. It's very, very steep there right now, in excess of about 16 to 18%. So we're dropping the slope down a little bit. We're going to be paving a portion of the beginning of it because we don't like to have gravel driveways in excess of 8%. So this will be a 12% slope on the driveway at the very beginning. We are going to be putting in riprap swale on the left-hand side of the driveway, a grass swale in other portions. And as we go up the driveway, we have several grass swales with some leak-offs that discharge into wooded areas as you go down the driveway. Currently, the way that the driveway is graded right now, there's a dip right in the middle of it, so everything comes flying down the driveway from the top of the site. It's about 800 feet of driveway, and everything just kind of rides the middle of the driveway and comes blasting down right now. So what we're doing is eliminating that by creating multiple leak-offs along the driveway, widening it to a manageable traversable width of 12 feet, and installing the stormwater appurtenances accordingly.
Bill Rowinski, I think your plan is an excellent one. I've been through there. I used to live on New Sweden Road down the other end. That cart road actually does go all the way to Griggs Trail, which is a branch between New Sweden Road. Having something like that, especially for the gravel part, is, having a gravel driveway in the past, having things like this is a lifesaver. And on both sides, on the 171 and the Rocky Hill Road, I believe there was some of those, see those steep lines there was gravel excavated on both sides, kind of right on both sides of that wetland.
Yep.
So there are some cutouts in there.
Bill, I agree with you. I thought it was a really very good design. I like the different locations of the leak-offs and energy dissipation for them. I thought that was, most times we have to ask people to put them in, but these were already here, shown in the design, so I have absolutely no problem with this application.
Good job, Norm.
Thank you, Stuart.
Do I have a motion on this application?
Yeah, I move to approve application 04-25-19-0171 Rocky Hill frontage. It says map 5783, block 69, lot 08A. For the construction of a driveway in the upland review area for a new single-family home on an adjacent lot. Be approved as a wetlands agent approval.
Second motion.
We have a motion by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley to approve how should I say it? Approve application 04-25-19, 0 Route 171, map 5783, block 69, lot 08A, for Bryn and Donald Riddell, driveway to new single-family home to be approved as a wetlands agent approval. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I should just note that the house is on a different lot, that there's no house proposed on this lot, that the house that this driveway is being constructed for is actually on lot 18, which is to the south. And there do not appear to be any regular activities associated with the construction of that home. It is just the entrance onto Rocky Hill Road that has any wetlands involvement in the upland review area.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you, Norm.
Thank you.
Good job, Norm.
Thank you, Marla.
Okay, moving on to application 04-25-20, 23 Hiawatha Heights, Wesley Smith and Susan McMillan. Request to repair septic and shoreline retaining wall. Request for use permitted as of right.
Well, I don't believe we have a representative of the applicant for this one. And there are two requests in this, one similar to what we've seen earlier tonight for the septic repair. The other is a request for shoreline bulkhead retaining wall repair. Going through the application, Bungie did offer its approval, noting that the shoreline repair can only be done when the lake level is drawn down.
So I think there's two things going on here. The septic system clearly is maintenance and enjoyment of residential home, and it's gotten approval from NDDH, so I think that easily can be passed on. But I don't know what the current retaining wall looks like, and it looks like the proposed replacement is right at the water, is in the water. So I think that needs an actual permit, and I would like to have an engineer take a look at that, because if it were to fail, could fail, it might fail into the water. And I don't know if that design is, if those boulders, I think it said that they were like 2 to 3 feet in diameter at the bottom. They do provide some detail. It's a nice drawing, much better than what we normally get. But I think it would be good if an engineer looks at it and says, yeah, this works for that proposed usage. And I'm wondering whether or not there should be any kind of, the site plan looks to be adequate for what they have there, but I would like to have something from a professional engineer saying that that's an adequate design to remain stable in a long period of time. So I'd like to bifurcate this since the applicant's not here. I would like to approve the septic design because I don't think we should hold that up, but I would like to deny the retaining wall and indicate that it needs to come in for a permit with a certification by a professional engineer that the design will remain stable for its intended use. What do you guys think about it?
Sounds good to me.
Submitted by a landscape designer.
Mm-hmm. In a landscape, Stu, you're a landscape designer.
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No.
Okay. Do you know if they can certify to structural components?
No, they cannot.
Okay. So then
I mean, there's no real loading on it, except there's no vertical load or lateral load from the soils. And I think that it would be I just don't want to see a hardship on the owner by having to hire a engineer.
Well,
Still needs a
here's a-
permit.
here's another thing though. You look back to page 2, the one that's actually labeled page 2. Um, our installer contract, excavation contractor, Ben Young, will be performing all construction work. Ben has suggested possibly completing the shoreline bulkhead repair and maintenance prior to the septic repair replacement due to the equipment and materials weight load for work on the shoreline bulkhead. So basically you have to cross the septic system to get to the shoreline.
I still think an engineer should take a look at what the design is for the retaining wall.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm
Um,
just pointing that
Yeah.
out, that's, they choose to hold back on the septic system, then it's gonna set them, set
Well,
them
they
back
can
a little.
decide whether they want to move forward with the retaining wall replacement at this time. I would agree with what Ben Young has said, that it's easier because it is a tight spot. They don't have a lot of space. And to bring in new stone and stuff and to take out the stuff that's there, that's going to be complicated for them. I don't know how close their septic system is to failing. They don't say it's actually failing, do they, in the NDDH paperwork? No, it's just it's got NDDH's design approval. It doesn't say whether or not the current system is failing. I would assume it is if they wanted to replace it.
So the
But
a challenge of following their preferred approach, if we are to require the lakefront work during drawdown, but they want to do the lakefront work first,
they're gonna have to wait till November anyways.
to repair the septic, if
So
that's,
why don't we table it and give them an opportunity to come in next month and see if they can get something from a professional engineer that certifies the adequacy of that retaining wall. And maybe they can supply some photographs of the existing retaining wall so we see what's there now, because I have no idea what's there now.
Looking at the top of page 2, the first sentence says another review and approval will be required for repair and maintenance of our shoreline bulkhead. So, yeah, let's let them go ahead and get another, engineer, review of it.
I think they should have a certification from an engineer.
Yeah.
I had a situation in Thompson once that was like this, where a contractor came in with a design and it was on Aquatic Reservoir and it was right on the water's edge. And when the engineer took a look at it, he found out that there was inadequate drainage behind the wall and there was inadequate rebar for the wall, and had to change the footing a little bit so that it could withstand the forces that it was expected to get. And this wall had actually a deck sitting on top of it, had piers for a deck. So there was added weight and stuff. So that was a little different, but still, it made me realize that if it can fail into the lake, then it becomes more problematic. So it should be done right the first time. And I think I'm not an engineer and I don't feel comfortable saying, yeah, this looks like it'll remain stable. So which would you prefer to do? Table it?
Yeah, well, we don't know how bad their septic system is. That's the problem.
Dan, you've had communications with them, haven't you?
no,
No?
just that when NDDH, this NDDH letter had come through and I saw that it was a lakefront address, I emailed the applicant to say that we're going to need wetlands permitting for what you propose. So it's just, I kind of really haven't had any direct communication. Just he reached out to Jose and then submitted everything he had sent to Jose.
Well,
Okay.
if we table it, then we have a chance to do it all at once
I
Yep.
next
agree.
month.
All right. And I move to table application 04-25-20, 23 Hiawatha Heights, for Wesley Smith and Susan McMillan, for work in the upland review area to repair a septic system, as well as to replace a retaining wall, shoreline retaining wall, replace a shoreline retaining wall.
Second motion.
We have a motion by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley to table application 04-25-20, 23 Hiawatha Heights, Wesley Smith and Susan McMillan, for use permitted as of right to repair septic and shoreline retaining wall, pending further information from the applicants.
I
Is
just
there any
want
further
to,
discussion?
I just want
Go
to
ahead.
note on the detailing for the section and the front and the transverse section, they're not coordinated well. So that will be taken care of by the engineer, but the stone is not shown on anything but soil. On the top and on the bottom, it's shown on stone, so that needs to be coordinated.
So Dan, could you contact the applicant and let them know they're gonna need to have some
Engineering
additional,
properly done, yeah.
yeah, at least a certification that this plan is adequate to meet the needs, and if they could provide some photographs of the existing wall, retaining wall?
Yeah, Sue, back to what you were saying. So what was it that you saw there?
If you look on page 7,
Okay.
Of,
the section, the cross section detailing at the foot of the retaining wall
Okay.
does not match the typical front section elevation. That just shows it being on earth on the top and on stone on the bottom. So that needs to be coordinated.
I think that stone is just referring to being in front of the wall. They're gonna put big stone, and then in front of that, in the lake, they're gonna put smaller stone, riprap.
Well,
That's
the
what it looks
stone,
like to
the
me.
stone wall should be sitting on stone.
Yeah,
Mm,
okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of tabling this application signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes to table this application pending further information. Next, we'll go to application 05-25-21, 0 Andrews Road, Shane Pollock, tree split and single family home. So if you read the narrative that basically they've cited on a high spot, kind of an optimum spot on the Norm, are you here for them too?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well,
Here for the
sorry.
hat trick tonight, so. All right, yeah, I'm here, this is this property, was purchased by Shane Pollock. He, ultimately will be, doing 3 lots here, but, he does, qualify for a free split. So we're here before you for this first lot that will be free split off from this. We also have to, go to the Planning and Zoning Commission in order to get this approved as well. And most likely next month, I will probably follow up with the subdivisions, but we wanted to at least get the ball rolling on this. It's a fairly cut and dry. You know, it's kind of a got I don't want to say surrounded by wetlands, but you got wetlands on the eastern side of it. It's a large wetland system. And then on the guess the north western side, there's also a wetland system over there. But we are, as you can see, we're going to have the well and some of the grading within the 100-foot upland review area. I might say that this wetlands to the east, northeast it's a beautiful wetland. It's the kind, you kind of stand here and you expect to see a moose come tromping out through the wetlands. It's all reeds and grasses and so forth, and it's very, very nice. No, we're going to hold a pretty good buffer, to the edge of the wetland there. And like you said, it is at the highest point of the site. It just sort of drops off radially in all directions from where we have the house. It's the most logical point to place it on the site. We have submitted the plan to the Northeast District Department of Health. We do not have approval from them yet, and I know this is the acceptance this evening. If the commission felt comfortable enough to let Dan do it as an agent approval, that would be great. But if not, we have no objection to continuing this until next month.
So I don't have a problem with, Marla Butt speaking, I don't have a problem with the house design or the application for the work in the upland review area. But I do have a question about the free split and the potential for subsequent subdivision.
Mhm.
When I looked at the GIS and it identified, of course, this lot is identified as lot 19A. Typically, when there's an A or a letter put after a lot number, it implies that there was already a subdivision. So when I look on the map geo, there's a lot 19, a lot 19A, and a lot 19B. Now 19A is on a different map than 19B and 19. So I did a little research to try to find out, okay, was this a lot of record when the subdivision regs went in place back in 1965?
Was
And
that, yeah, that was, yeah, it looks like August 31st, 1965.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Honestly, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I don't do the research. Greg, my partner, is the surveyor here, and he does all the research on this. And
okay.
he was the
So
one who determined
when
that.
I went looking for going back in history to the prior owners of this property and
Mhm.
came up with a Jacob, the estate of Jacob Chesanik Senior
Mhm.
and Joan Chesanik, and found that there was back in 1967 the land was conveyed to Jacob Chesnick Sr. and Joan Chesnick, I assume from his mother, Jacob's mother, and it was listed as track 2. So I'm not sure
Mhm.
why the assessors has multiple letters, other than maybe that they were different tracks owned by the same individual. And in order to put it in when they did the mapping, they had to assign something to it. This was, so I don't think the Wetlands Commission can respond to whether or not this is a free split or not. I have no objection to the proposal as it stands. I don't see any regulatory reason why it couldn't go forward. But if you look at volume of the land records, volume 62, page 11, track 2 is 8 acres more or less, and that may or may not be this property. I believe it could, because there were 3 different tracks that were in that deed. And this one was the only one that came up with close to the acreage. So the other question is, since you're saying he wants to get 2 lots, is he thinking of having a shared drive?
Yes.
Okay, because he only has enough space left to have a shared drive if he wants 2
Yes,
lots.
that it will be a shared drive, essentially along that existing path that's there.
Okay.
So does the splitting issue come under the Planning and Zoning Commission purview?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
us.
that's what I thought. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether or not it's a free split or not a free split. I don't have any objection to the house construction as shown. And there is a pathway already coming up for the other lot. Which I assume that would be where the driveway would be. They wouldn't have to be filling wetlands in order to do
No,
the driveway to lot B.
that's
Would that
correct.
be correct, Norm?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but I think we should be real clear in any approval that we give that we are not making a determination as to whether or not this is entitled to a free split, but that we're looking at the location of the house and the proposed construction as being acceptable.
Understood.
Would I be able to process this application as an agent approval until the split was actualized?
Yeah, I would think so. What does the rest of the commission feel?
I'm
Or do you
okay
want
with
us to
that.
do it because it's there's an issue here with it, whether or not it's a free split or not?
Who are
I
you
mean,
asking that? I mean,
we
the
can
thing
take no
is,
position about the free split.
I think it's just a question of being methodical, and we can't anticipate the free split if that's not part of the application. If that is in fact our assumption, then I still don't think we can act on it.
So our permits are prefaced that the issuance of this permit, no work is to begin until every other permit you need in this process has been achieved. I don't know if that is like a built-in safeguard that could apply to a situation like this.
Please repeat that, Dan. What is?
I'd need the exact phrase in front of me, but our approval, no work is to begin until any other permitting is satisfied, whether it be a variance or health department, planning and zoning,
Building permit.
building permit.
But we've made stipulations in the past. You can't do this until you've got that one specific permit, the
Yeah.
septic permit or something. So
I don't think it makes any difference because whether or not it's the split if the Planning and Zoning Commission determines that a free split is not entitled here, it doesn't make a difference. This house could still be constructed at this location.
Yeah.
We're approving the construction of a home at that location and the grading work at that location. Whether or not the land is split into two or not is irrelevant. Unless planning and zoning requires different lot lines, then you'd have to come back either for a new permit or have to come back for a modification.
Yeah. So
But I don't see holding
we
it
should
up.
just take it one step at a time.
I think we can approve this. I just can't, I think we have to say, we cannot make any judgment regarding whether or not there's an entitlement to a free split. If you were to take this property as a whole, that house would be the best place for that, probably for that location. It doesn't have really, it's one of the farthest places away from the wetlands on both sides. While there are other locations within that lot, this still would be a good location for that. I don't see the alternatives, what the alternatives are, and it's just in the Upland Review area. But Stuart, you think we should be waiting until planning and zoning makes a determination that it is a free split?
Well, I could give a little bit of clarity here. If we were before you as this, I mean, as this exists right now,
Mhm.
this is a single piece of property,
Mhm.
right? Even if the Planning and Zoning Commission said, we don't believe that you're eligible for a free split, you
Mhm.
have to come in for a subdivision,
Mhm.
he could build that house
Mhm.
in that location,
Mhm.
and while that house is being built or after that house is being built, he could go in for a subdivision at that point.
Mhm.
So we're here you know, seeking permission for that activity in this area of this property at this point.
Keywords being at this point.
Mhm.
Right. We are, you know, we are going for the free split, but like I said, I don't think, you know, whether, if the Planning and Zoning Commission for some reason says, no, we don't think you're eligible, I mean, I really trust my partner. He's pretty good at this kind of stuff, and he
Mhm.
said that it was eligible, so
Mhm.
I have to trust his judgment, and I'm sure that we'll bring the evidence to the meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission as well.
In some ways, this is similar to the K&M Villa subdivision that the commission saw a few months back, maybe at the end of last year.
Mhm.
Their first step in dividing the property was a free split.
Mhm.
And that work was outside of Upland, so it didn't come before the commission. They built the house and then split off the land and then did the subdivision following that. So I think if we can approve the design of the single family home, it'll be compliant for zoning purposes.
Mhm.
The split can follow, I believe.
Mhm. I would agree with Dan. I think we
Sounds
can
good
move
to
on it.
me.
I think
Yep, go ahead.
I was just
Nobody
going to
like
say, whatever
approves?
approval we give, we just should put it on the condition that we are taking no position regarding the free split. And I can
That's
make a
fine.
motion to. All right, then I move to approve application 05-25-21, 0 Andrews Road, map 5171, block 16, lot 19A, to Shane Pollock for a single family home with the notification as, oh, don't be processed, and let me repeat that we move to approve application 05-25-01, 0 Andrews Road, map 5171, block 16, lot 19A, as a wetlands agent approval for Shane Pollock for the construction of a single-family home, with the understanding that the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency is taking no position regarding the existence of a free split for this lot.
I seconds the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley for application 05-25-21, 0 Andrews Road, map 5171, block 16, lot 19A for Shane Pollock, sorry, for a single family home with no,
With
no
the understanding,
determination, with the
with the
understanding
understanding
there's,
that commission takes
go
no
ahead.
position, agency takes no position regarding the free split of this lot.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you, Norm.
Have a nice night.
You too. Thank you.
Take care.
Good to see you, Norm.
Yep.
Good night.
Nice to see you, Stuart.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Okay, administrative business.
I have not been able to make progress on the clear cutting that we were talking about last fall. We just haven't really slowed down, and it's been a challenge to kind of communicate our permitting needs with first the owner and the applicant she was working on for another project that has since been withdrawn. So I still
Dan,
her
are
applicant.
you talking about 60 Indian Spring Road?
Yeah.
The one that was that withdrawn? That was
That was withdrawn. That
Okay.
she's still working with that applicant, and they will be submitting in the future
Okay.
for the 2 decks. Commission wanted to see more legibility in the application as it was presented. A clearer signature from the owner expressing their um, permission for the contractor to do this work, and a cross section of these proposed decks, since there was a considerable slope in that backyard. Also, they had proposed areas of this deck to be within the 20-foot rear yard setback, which wouldn't be zoning compliant. So there was a number of reasons that the commission wanted to have that better presentation being the minimum. But they have since withdrawn. The commission waived their fee for resubmittal, and they're preparing a better application. If there's any questions about that or the previous matter at 132 Indian Spring, I don't really have any more detail for you, but I can look into something or proceed a certain way if the commission wishes, or we can move on to the agent report.
I have no problem.
Yeah.
As far as you
Okay.
know, nothing's happened at 132 Indian Spring Road since then.
Since then,
You've gotten no further complaints.
no further complaints. So we had Weber at the end of the day, after writing this, NDDH had supplied their report. And this was a rundown of the applications that we had received for this meeting. At the day of the meeting last month, we got DP sent a copy of the consent order and compliance plan that Solitude Lake Management had to supply them. And I believe those are on the 4/7/25 meeting page as attachments. Same with the Towers LLC submitting an application to the Siting Council for a certificate of environmental compliance. That is also on the 4/7/25 meeting attachment. We briefly mentioned this also. Wyndham Waterworks gave us a letter about PFAS biosolids. This is their letter is attached in this meeting's attachments, and this is it's a concerning. It raises the hair on my arms, this issue, because I've been following it in another state where they're kind of a little bit more aware. But for a long time, it was an EPA accepted practice for farms to use sludge generated from wastewater treatment facilities as an amendment to the soil. 30, 40 years of this going on. This was, of course, tested and no heavy metals found, but we're becoming more aware of these things called forever chemicals, PFAS. There's thousands of them, and they don't break down in the body, in the environment quite readily. They call them forever chemicals. And this sludge in areas where it's been applied on farm fields has caused high concentrations of these chemicals, and they have been known to cause an array of health conditions. I point to the state of Maine as the most aware that I've seen on this issue. I think in 2018, somebody asked a question to a milk distributor: "Are there PFAS in your milk?" And this kind of there was testing, and it uncovered high concentrations, and this kind of opened up, I guess, Pandora's box of awareness on this, because this treatment that was applied at this farm for so many years is across hundreds or thousands of farms across the state. And I think this was a practice that was done in pretty much every state. And Wind and Waterworks hints that this is done in our state, and that it is still even occurring because they're investigating this issue presently for contamination to their watershed. I think it's gonna be more of a thing, and I don't think there's real solutions. A lot of farms have closed because of this issue of contamination. Sometimes you don't have any PFAS on your property, never spread the chemical, the sludge, but you bought hay from a farm that had this issue, and now it's in your cows. So I think we'll probably see more or hear more of this soon. But I encourage anybody to see what Maine's doing on this issue because
Hey, Dan,
Yep.
could you change your screen to your wetlands agent report?
I think I'm on it.
No,
I'm not seeing it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Let me try this again here.
So while you're talking, I remember this coming up in Thompson when I was there as their agent. And they actually had this substance, it was called Milorganite lawn fertilizer. And there was apparently, if you do a Google search of sewage sludge fertilizer, there's a website called sludgenews.org. And it has an article in there of all the branded products that contain sewage sludge, and unbelievable number of products that have waste treatment or sewage sludge in them, processed. So if you want to see what all the different brands are, but I know in Thompson there was a question of using this Milorganite product. And because the web is available to most people, they can buy it online and then get it delivered in town. Sorry, I just
Bill,
wanted to let you know.
that's
that.
okay. I just want to add on that, Bill Rowinski. You could buy that in any store around here now, Milorganite. Back in the 70s, it was right on the bag. It was produced by the Milwaukee Sewer Commission. That's where the mill comes. So that has been, recycled sludge. The good news, for one thing, is that it really can be a good deer repellent, and golf courses tend to use that, buy it by the pallet loads. The bad thing is I'm not convinced that it doesn't come with the potential for a lot of grubs in your lawn. So
Oh, jeez.
I thought you used it to kill the grubs, no?
no.
Oh. Wow, okay.
So anyway, sorry.
Yep. Everybody should have a look at that letter from Wyndham Waterworks that's in the attachment section, just to kind of see where they're at, because a large swath of town is in their watershed. I don't know what farms, if any, in Woodstock. I mean, we don't have a wastewater treatment plant, so it's not necessarily convenient. If where I've read is that this is it was kind of a matter of convenience, a local treatment plant giving this to the local farmers. I don't know how that dynamic has worked here, but I can only assume that somebody's spread this somewhere in town. Hopefully it's not as widespread, prolonged, and concentrated as some places are, unfortunately. But moving on
Well,
to, yep,
One thing would be good then to forward that to the Agricultural Commission.
absolutely.
And, they can follow up on it, hopefully.
We got an interesting email about, hey, my pond's turning blue. And then the neighbor's pond started turning blue. And those residents reached out to Deep and they sent an inspector, Tom Welch, and it got a case number. This is something that first was reported on April 22nd. The inspector found an origin point at a 7-Eleven brickyard, and it went downstream from there. It was the product was 1 gallon of Pond Champs Blue Pond Dye. And 1 gallon is meant for 1 acre of size pond, but the full gallon was used on 1/10 of an acre pond.
What was this supposed to do?
The inspector said this product is used for aesthetic, but also to help control algae bloom. He described the product as non-toxic, or the product describes itself as non-toxic, safe for pets, humans, and the environment. But it's water soluble and it runs through the water column and can't be removed without more problems than it causes.
So we know who did it?
Yes. And they, oh, go ahead.
What is DEP doing about it? Are they sending them any correspondence?
Let's see.
The property owner? If not, then we should.
Yeah.
Because
He
that is
characterized
a
it
regulated
as,
activity for us.
yeah.
If DEP's not regulating it, then that's putting a material in a water course.
So
And
he called it an honest mistake that he gets quite frequently. He's closed the case, advised them not to use this product, and I told him I'd issue a similar letter on behalf of the agency.
yeah. Okay.
And he says it's probably going to take about 20 to 30 days for it to run clear. It'll likely reach other ponds and properties. And it all depends on the amount of rainfall. I think what we had today and we'll have tomorrow, might hasten that. But I didn't know this product was something that you could just buy on Google or Amazon, and that's, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of it on Amazon. And I think that's probably as part as our, we were talking about education of the public. Maybe that should be something we should put on our resources list, telling people that they can't just dump chemicals into their pond unless that's been licensed. Because technically they should, since DEP doesn't seem like they're regulating it, we should be.
Yeah, I can add work to add something to the resources list on our website. But I will follow up with a letter on behalf of the IWWA. I don't know if they're scared straight, but we want something on our record that we advise them about the proper procedures for this. One kind of similar but way different. A resident reported white coloration in a dry creek in Roseland Park a couple days after that. And I went down there, I saw coloration from Roseland Park Road to the lake. I didn't see any coloration on the golf course side of the road. Chan went out to have a look for himself, our first selectman, and he saw what I saw. Didn't see any coloration on the golf course side. And that was the same that the complainant, and nobody saw coloration on the golf course side. So one hypothetical is that there's two points of entry to the creek, one from the golf course side underneath the road, and then a drain from the road. And it's possible that this was caked sand, salt that was shifted around from a recent road sweeping and then flushed by rainfall into the dry creek, which is generally dry, staining the rocks. I reached out to ECCD and didn't get any reply. Also the same with the Windham County Extension, no reply. To advise and possibly sample. So I reached out to Putnam Water Pollution Control by email today, and just to get to the bottom of what might have made it into the Roseland Lake.
So Dan, I probably would have suggested contacting DEEP on their hotline, their 24-hour line. Because if this is somebody did some dumping of a chemical, because it's a public water supply watershed, they probably should have come out and done the sampling. The state should have.
Okay.
So in the future, if you have something like that where you can't figure out where something came from, you don't have a source, but all of a sudden there's something there, whether it's a discoloration or some kind of precipitate, that kind of thing, and you can't figure out how it got to where it got, and I'd call DEEP, because of being a public water supply watershed, you have no idea what that stuff is. Somebody could have dumped something out of their vehicle and into the stream bed.
It is where that stream crosses, there is a parking area on that side of the road. It didn't look like anybody had trodden through the parking area to put anything in the creek bed. Other possibilities, it was dumped, something might have been dumped from the road directly into the creek.
Sometimes concrete trucks will wash out their truck. I've seen that happen, where they find a stream and they wash it out in the stream. So it's hard. If it's white, when you said it was white,
yeah,
could have been concrete, could have been something else. Who knows?
I'll update the commission on this when I have more information. Kathleen has been with us. I put in my report here that she applied to the Board of Selectmen for membership, and they'll be reviewing her application at a future Board of Selectmen meeting to confirm her appointment. Then there'll be a swearing in with the clerk, and hopefully we have you ready to go for our next meeting. We'll get you lined up with whatever trainings that we can offer. The state go-to program that we talked about earlier in the years, early in the meeting, is not up and running right now, but it's possible that it could be very shortly. But we'll send some links over to you, kind of to get you started.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just for clarification, I was forwarded her application first and solicited for approval before it went to the selectmen. So it's already been approved by me. So it's just up to the selectmen now.
Well, we
Well,
hope to see you on board next meeting, Kathleen.
I appreciate that. I was just thinking, my husband has asked, well, why was it? How was it? What was it? Is it exciting? Was it? And I think I'm going to tell him that it was incredibly boring and really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's a mix of both for sure.
Well, yeah, and there's some stuff. I mean, just sitting here for this hour, I learned a lot of things, and there's stuff like that fascinates me.
That's good. We like people question things.
Well, as long as you don't mind, I will go ahead and do that.
The level of boredom of any particular individual, is based on their area of interest, So what you find interesting can, then it's not boring. But if there's parts of it that you're not interested in, then yeah, that's the boring part.
Well, that's it. It comes up, as this numbers and this and this, here it is, and this is a blah 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 blah, and then boom, there's something in there that's like
right. Yeah.
It was surrounded by the boring, but there's a flower growing in there of the information that needs to be gathered.
Our commission's standard operating procedures can be rather boring, you know, but we gotta go through the procedures. But
Well,
then you dig into the interesting stuff through that.
to tell you the truth, your procedures I find extremely organized.
Efficient.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the way you have with the numbers and who saw whom, and then who makes the report, or if there needs to be a report, or who contacts who, or whatever. And it, so that's not, that part is actually quite impressive.
Good.
So,
Well, that's good to know, but we also have potential legal component because we're appointed by the state to be the regulatory agency. So there's always the chance that we could end up in a lawsuit from something we did. So we have to cover our all the as many different places as we can.
yep. Well, that makes a lot of sense too, because you're going to have people out there that are not going to be happy, no matter what happens. They're not going to be happy.
Yep.
So, so do you folks have any sort of printed material that you think I should read? Or I know when the SEEC, the you know the people that manage the voting and all that stuff. I mean, they have some stuff that you know you can watch and all. Is most of what applies to what we're doing? Do you think that is mostly on? You mentioned it a few minutes ago about their website.
Yukon Clear.
Yep. The Yukon
Okay.
Clear, the DEEP websites, and
Okay.
and then I think Dan, we're posted on our town website. We've got our local Woodstock Inland Wetlands regulations, right?
Yep.
So Kathleen, take a look at that. Yeah.
Okay. Right on the website. How did I miss that?
And the bylaws.
And the
There's a-
The
bylaws.
bylaws.
There's a
Wow.
tab also that says resources, and that also, there's some things that we see frequently on that tab too.
Okay. Well,
But
that's good. Oh, yeah.
the standard training is a bunch of video modules.
Yep. Okay.
So when we've got that confirmed is up and running again, I'm going to get you that link. And then there's supplemental trainings that occur periodically through Yukon Clear. And then there's wetlands and conservation focused conferences that are put on by nonprofits, state nonprofits that that supplement our training as well. But there's a lot of opportunities, but we want to get you on the state one that's currently not up and running, but
Yeah.
we'll get
Okay.
to that soon.
So Dan, once Kathleen gets approved by the Board of Selectmen, could you add her to the contact list and send out that to all the commissioners, including Kathleen? The contact list has our names, our mailing addresses, our phone numbers that we prefer to use. So that if we need to contact each other, sometimes typically we do not do ex parte communication about any subject matter. But say you wanted to get some understanding of how the GIS program works. I mean,
Okay.
I could work with you on that, walk you through it, show you how it works, show you how to look at land records, that kind of thing, if you decide that's something you're interested in. But it's not dealing with a particular application, but you don't know how to contact me. And until
Right.
you get that contact list, you won't know.
Mhm.
But we don't talk to each other outside of a regular meeting
Yeah.
about any subject matter that's before the commission for a decision.
Right.
But
That's
if we have,
related to,
yeah, if we have general questions, or like Bill and I go to the Kakiwik annual meeting, we've gone in the last couple of years. Kakiewicz is the Connecticut Association of Conservation and the Wetlands Commissions, and they have an annual meeting in November, which is very good. I would encourage
Okay.
going. The town pays for that, or it pays for the fee to go to that.
Okay.
It's a 1-day event on a Saturday in November. It's usually pretty good.
Wow.
Free lunch.
Sounds good. Oh, okay, even better, even better. Now I can't bribe you guys into all coming someplace to sit down with a cup of coffee and just talk, like, what goes on or what, completely nothing to do with any particular case or any issue, but just some of the things that you think are helpful, things that you think are helpful, right? Um,
Any one of us can do that as long as it's not about anything
right.
before us or any case that has been before us. If
Yep.
it's a general generic thing, yeah. I'm always available to talk. I'm fully retired now. Not
Ah,
like the rest. Some of us are not. Some of us
okay. Well, I
still work.
am, so that's why I can fill all my time with all this other good stuff. What did you do before you were on this
I
mission?
worked with Mark Parker at the
Oh, okay.
Department of Environmental Protection before it was DEEP, and then I
Okay.
retired from there and then was 11 years in Thompson as their wetlands agent.
Ah, so you've seen it all, probably.
I've seen a lot.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much, all of you, for being so welcoming, and I hope to get going. And I love learning new stuff and um, finding stuff. And
What's your background, Kathleen? What
oh,
did you
you're gonna
receive?
laugh when you hear this. um, my original, I'm a graduate nurse from UConn, way back in the 70s. But I've also done some legal work for attorneys, um, for medical kinds of things, medical malpractice kinds of things. Um, I've done much more administrative stuff than I like to think about. I was the director of nursing at St. Raphael's. I've done administrative stuff there, but also budgetary, setting up budgets for different things and all. Um, my master's degree is in public administration, so I just sort of have gone where the interesting things are, the stuff over the years that have interested me. So should be fun. Should be like I said, it's incredibly boring and incredibly interesting. So I'll be glad to see that. Well, when you're dealing with numbers, like just and they're not numbers that add up to anything. They're just to identify something, So it's like, oh, okay, here it is, But you got it so laid out that it's so nice and organized, that the numbers serve a purpose. And just listening to you talk about, I happen to be familiar with, and I shouldn't tell you this probably, with the one of the walls that we were discussing tonight, or that you were discussing tonight. And that's something I learned when we were having the wall done at our house, because we live on the lake. We live on Lake Bungie. And the first guy that did the wall, it was terrible. It lasted maybe 5 years, and the water was coming through and taking the dirt with it, and it was just awful. The guy that came along afterwards and did it, he insisted, he said, you've got to get below the frost line. Even though it's on a lake, you've got to go down far enough that you're going to have it sunk well into the dirt. I mean, I found that, and I watched what they were doing, and it's just, there are better ways to do things. So
Well, you
Anyway,
see a lot of lakefront activities, so you'll
I'll-
have some experience with that.
yes, yes. And I often wonder why there's not some better way of well, making people aware of what they've got to do. I mean, like a newsletter or something, or I've done a lot of those, like for nursing and for administration and stuff. But this is what you can and can't do. So if you do what you can't do, we're going to be all over you.
Well, we just started working on that, in fact. We're going to be
Ah,
writing some articles to the town's economic letter or whatever it is.
oh,
I'm working on an article right now, how it all began. How the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency came into being.
well, that's very good because I'd be interested in hearing that too. I mean, all I know, I've heard some, but it would be interesting to know the real roots. Where it really got started.
Yeah, at our special meeting a week ago, we talked about that, and we were throwing around some ideas of some public outreach materials and articles that
Yeah,
we could write.
yeah,
Yeah.
But it's nice to talk, but we're already at
yeah.
9:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we move on?
I'm sorry.
Dan?
I apologize.
That's okay, Kathleen.
So I visited Solaire on last Thursday with Don Gagnon and their contractor. It was pretty impressive to see the bags pretty well loaded. Their operation is almost complete. I wish I had pictures I do have pictures, but I didn't have time to put them into this report. But their next step is to have the bags drain on the beach completely over the next 2 to 3 months, and then relocate the spoils to that area that was labeled Field of Dreams on the site plan.
Could you
But,
post them? Could you post them for your next wetlands agent report?
Yeah,
That would be
Yeah.
fine, or at least have a document in the records so that we can make sure we've got it for the
Photographs.
file.
yeah, it's impressive, especially when they start hitting the bag to kind of start releasing some of the water out of it, and it just it's wild. But I'll have some pictures. What I'll do is finish this report, adding those pictures into it, and then replace this one that's on this meeting page with the completed report that includes pictures. But on to the next thing. Deep is rolling out a new online reporting form, or hoping to in the future. I took 3 of our previous approvals from earlier this year and plugged all the info into these test forms, and gave a reply. There's some bugs. We briefly talked about them at the special meeting. You can only use the Firefox browser to have the geolit locator map work. And typically, the applicant would fill out these forms. This one they're putting completely into the hands of staff to fill out these forms. We'll fill them out a little better than the residents would. But I think if they can collect data in this way, they can start using this data, because right now they don't take these forms and do anything with them. We just require them in our application process and take the fee on it, and remit that to Deep per each of these applications. Dovetailing into the next comment, I just submitted the third quarter fiscal year fee summary that they request. The town is obligated to report how much money we've collected on behalf of the state for that reporting fee that accompanies the form.
Should that have been 24, year 24, third quarter?
I think this is 25 in there.
We're not even near the third quarter of 25.
Okay.
Unless
It's-
it's their fiscal year, because their fiscal year goes to July 1.
July to, right.
This is the
So
third.
yeah, okay, it
Yeah,
would be
this
their
is-
third quarter. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
This is their third quarter summary. The next one will be due August 1st, 30 days after the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
So if they can get more use out of this reporting, then it can inform policy making and better decisions. Hopefully, at the top. Right now, I don't. They're just thank you for the money. But there's some bugs with this form, but hopefully, I'm hoping that it works out for them with this. And it might be easier to find our drainage basin, or because right now you have to cross-reference a bunch of different maps and such to give them some of the information that they're requesting. With the geolocator, much easier. But
So
yeah.
Dan, when you submitted the link to all of us and I asked them if I could participate and they said, no, we're going to limit it to the people that we sent it to. I was still able to do a review and I did send them comments after the reporting form, online reporting form closed. And I also that's when I found out the training program isn't operational. They don't have a contract yet with Yukon Clear to do that. But what they did tell me, which I think we should be keeping our eye out for, is they're going to have to change the administrative regulations of Connecticut state agencies to allow for an electronic reporting form, because their current state regulations say that it's written and they don't have an option for online reporting. So keep your eye out on, and I've asked them to put me on the mailing list for the notification for the public hearing for those regulation changes to see what kinds of changes they're going to be, because that has to go to public hearing if I recall correctly anytime they have a regulation change of the regulations of Connecticut state agencies. So stay tuned, that's going to come.
Good catch. So that's all I had in the agent report. If anybody has any questions, we can follow up. You can send me an email or visit or give me a call. We've got some items, let's see, of correspondence. This was a few things sent to us from the first selectman. Grant policies for the town, management and retention of email, with disposition of public records, which is a topic that is on our agenda tonight, and the equal opportunity employment policy. If you want to jump ahead to the records retention discussion, or just briefly look at this financial report that shows we're running out of money here. I think our the legal notices that we do have to put out for the applications we've received this month and what we might have next month will put us over that noticing line. But I've been told it'll be okay. They'll make it work. We'll ship something from somewhere if we go.
So Dan, it looks like they haven't recorded my $85 for because I know somebody else had the under the fees dues in the wetlands dues and conferences. I got an $85 check for the Kakiwik annual meeting, and there had been some costs there, so I don't know how correct that is or not, because you may need to use that money to pay for legal notices if we run out. But you know what? The selectman's office is going to have to cover it regardless of whether we run out or not. They'll figure out what they got to do.
So does this mean I'm not gonna get a raise?
But it
Join
double
the
your
club.
salary.
You're gonna get a 50% raise, Stuart.
Yeah, there you go.
50% of zero is zero.
That's right.
We lost Dan.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Maybe he jumped ship.
Said
No, I don't think he did. I
Parker
think
was host. Said Mark is host. That was the notice I got.
all right, well,
I didn't touch anything.
so I guess we could just go down through what we have left. I don't know what the records retention disposal was going to be. Do you know,
It
Bill?
was no, but it was, I haven't had a chance to look at it. It's probably not appropriate for what we're doing. So that we just need to clarify that. For our
I did
purposes and for the select. Yeah, you did speak to Chandler too.
Yes, I did speak to him about the fact that it's now in our bylaws that no records disposal can occur without the commission being notified of it and approving it. Since we lost all those records when Ashley Stevens was here.
So that's in writing now, or?
It's in the bylaws now. We changed the
Okay.
bylaws after we found
Alright.
out that Ashley Stevens had destroyed records that we knew nothing about, and some of them were valid permits.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
good.
so first selectman knows about it. He didn't know about it before.
Yeah, he asked me, how many might still be outstanding, and I said, I have no idea.
I told him
Have no idea who's gonna come out of the woodwork, and
right. We'll just have to deal with it when it comes. And we'll assume that they don't have a permit until they show us their permit, until they show us their paperwork.
How long?
Are we supposed to go through all these items after the agent report on the list here?
No. Well, I did send out the water resources, the plan of conservation and development, with the edits from the last meeting, and I would like to go through that because if we want to make any more changes to that, I have to let Delia know what those changes are. So I don't know if anybody can screen share that. I sent it to everybody, a copy that's in Word. You have to enable editing in order to see the track changes.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
And you want to go to all markup under review. You in the menu bar, you go to review, you click on review, and then in the middle of that pull down menu of menu bars that you'll see it, you want it in all markup. I could call up mine and screen share it, but did anybody have a chance to look at that before this meeting? No.
I haven't had a chance to look at it.
All right, then let's not talk about it then.
All right. I think I don't know what happened.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
We were talking about you.
Okay. Oh.
We decided to look at the water resources POCD. Nobody's had a chance to review it, so there's no sense. Delia has the copy. She got the CD, I mean the thumb drive that I gave you.
Yeah.
All right, so she's got all the information that that I said that I was going to give to her from the last meeting, including the revised language for the water resources. So
I also forwarded your draft to Jean Pillow.
Yep.
Because she asked about it. So there'll be Conservation Commission should be taking a look at that also.
Okay, so whether or not they end up making any comments for changes, I've done the part that I needed to do. So
yeah. I'm just letting you know that.
all right. I think agriculture, the commission should probably have some. We should, if they show an interest in finding out about resiliency for droughts, you know, the development of irrigation ponds and that kind of thing, that would be a separate thing down the road. But I don't think it would be. We don't have to talk about that now, but you're on the committee, right? The Plan of Conservation and Development. Yeah.
Yes.
So if agriculture wants to weigh in on that, they can weigh in on that. But if they decide they want to go that way, I think we should meet with them and talk to them about. I'd be willing to go to their commission meeting and talk to them about some of the concerns that I saw back in the drought of the 60s. And whether or not they want to pursue something, they really need to talk to us if they want to develop irrigation ponds for resiliency. Because there's different ways that you can build them, and whether you have them on the water course or off to the side, or whether you supply well water, if you've got really good wells, because we do have a couple of good aquifers in this part of town. I mean, in the eastern part of town. So I just say that's in case that comes up with your committee.
Yep. As far as right now, the POCD committee, Amy can weigh on this and weigh in on this if you would like, but she's kind of feels comfortable with what we've done for work up to this point. And so there's a few ends to tie up, or a few comments to tie up. So we probably don't need to meet for another special meeting at this point.
Yep.
So is there anybody else who has comments or citizens' comments at this point?
I have one comment
Yep.
about the GIS program. We know that there's some problems with it, and I've spoken to Chandler Paquette about them. And he seems to be willing to move forward with reviewing what program we have. And I'm in the process of coming up with a list of all the various contractors that have applications throughout the state. I've actually tried to find the GIS pages for all the 169 towns. And I'm in the process now of collecting and sorting through that information, then looking at those different applicants, not applicants, those different applications to see how they operate and stuff. But I think actually the town needs to solicit input from its various commissions and offices to find out, how do you want your GIS system to work? And so I told him I'd be willing to volunteer for, if he has a committee established for looking at the GIS program, what they would, I'd be willing to do that for him. So I'm going to continue working on that. But I do think with Dan's situation, we need to get the application form in better working order. So if you want, I'll work on that as a priority at this point, now that my job with the POCD is pretty well done. If you want me to look.
Next time you're in the office, I know Ashley Stevens was working towards one, and we kind of we might have a draft close to roll out.
Yep.
So we'll have a look at what we have and
Okay.
and see where it needs a little more work.
All right,
I
the
think,
next 2 weeks,
yeah,
I'll stop by, and so that for the next meeting, I can have something for the commission to look at, or we can have something for the commission to look at as a new application form that contains all the details that we're missing now.
Marla, do each one of the towns have their own GIS program?
Yes. Yeah. They have
So-
most of them have contracted with with a
Vision?
service.
Yeah.
Like ours is ArcGIS. There's also MapGeo. There's Map Express. There's something by Tyvond. And it's variable. So I'm in the process now of sorting through those right now so that I can at least give a list of, here are all the different types that are available,
Yeah.
different products that are available.
I was
So there's
just.
And if you want, I'll meet
It's
with
pretty
you and I
good.
can show you some of that
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, because there's no reason why there has to be any kind of coordination from town to town then, because every town
No.
is basically, okay.
It's handled through normally the assessor's office.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And that's all I had. I just want to let you know that those are two things that I'm gonna be working on outside of the regular meeting.
Did you guys um, do any talk about records disposal?
Yep,
Just
No, just, the only thing it said is,
it's in the bylaws,
we
man.
got something from the Board of Selectmen about it. Their point of view is probably does not, include the various extensions that we are able to do. So we'll have to inform them of what actually we can and can't do. And that Marla also said that we need to review anything before it gets thrown out.
and that's in the bylaws, right, Marla?
Correct.
Is there something that tells you in the bylaws how long stuff has to be kept? I mean, is
No,
there
it's in, it runs off the state library's record retention disposal plan.
Okay.
You have to
I
get
was gonna
approval
ask-
from the state library before you can dispose of anything.
That's what I was gonna ask next, is doesn't the state have some standard?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that sort of makes it easier, but sometimes it makes it harder if their methods are a pain in the butt. It depends.
Their plan is outdated based on state law, so there's a problem with the state library's record retention plan.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, I want to report that Natalie and we've been kind of cleaning up our house and kind of been going through stuff. And, Natalie has often said that I'm a hoarder. Well, she found boxes and boxes. She came in today and said, "You've got boxes back there of inland wetland stuff dating back to 2007. She says, "Do you want me to throw it out?" I said, "No, you better not."
Oh,
I said, "Because I might be able to offer it to the town because they've already started throwing stuff out that they shouldn't have." So I wanted to let you guys know that I'm glad to donate about 4 boxes of
oh,
horror
thank you very much.
back to 2000. So I basically got the last 18 years worth of wetlands applications.
Mark, we need that.
You need that? Okay. I'll bring them over to you.
Uh, where do you keep that kind of stuff? If it's written, paper stuff, is there a place in town hall that it's kept, or?
We keep a record in the land use office. It's quite deficient. I don't have much going back after 2019. And the problem is that there's been times where the state has extended the life of permits by statute, a certain date range.
Oh,
And so some older things that might still be valid have gotten, I don't know, lost or disposed of by my predecessors. There's been a bit of turnover in the office.
whoops.
Not everybody on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're rebuilding the record.
Well,
All right, if you have any other business, Dan?
I've got nothing more. If anything comes to mind after we hang up, feel free to give me an email or call tomorrow.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else that we should discuss? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a move that we adjourn tonight, Stuart Peasley, May 5th, 2025 at 9:55.
Good night, Stu. We'll let you go now.
I second the
Who's
motion.
a sec- Okay, motion by Stuart Peasley to adjourn, second by Marla Butts. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
gotta
aye.
get up.
Aye.
I gotta get
Aye.
up at 4:30, so
Ouch.
bye.
whoa.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 9:55, 9:56. Thank you very much, Dan. You're doing a heck of a job trying to keep up with everything, and
Thanks, Phil.
we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're welcome.
Have a good one,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.